Hello everyone, in this video we'll be solving problem 3572, maximize y sum by picking a triplet of distinct x values. The problem statement is, we are given two integer arrays x and y, each of length n. We need to choose three distinct indices I, j and k such that the corresponding values in the x collection should not be equal to each other and its corresponding values in the y collection should give us the maximum total when added. If there are no such triplets, return -1. In example number 1, we have three unique values in the x collection, that is 1, 2 and 3. Next step is to group all of these values and identify its corresponding indices. Based on the indices and the corresponding values in the y collection, the maximum total can be gained if we take the indices 0, 1 and 3 and sum them up, giving us the total of 14. We can also choose other triplets, but those will not fetch us the maximum total. In example number 1, we only have two unique values in the x collection, which do not suffices the requirement given to us. As we cannot build the triplet, the output is -1. I hope you are able to understand the problem statement. Now let's switch to whiteboard and discuss how we can solve this problem by breaking it down into smaller pieces. Let's start by identifying what are the smaller pieces that we can solve before we can tackle the entire problem. The first step is to group all of the indices in the x collection based on the values. Once we have grouped all of the indices based on the values in the x collection, now we can take its corresponding values from the y collection. In other words, the indices that we identified in the first step, we are taking its corresponding value from the y collection. The last step is to identify the highest value amongst all of the grouped values that we collected from the x collection, sum them up and return it as the output. Let's do a quick dry run using this example to get a better idea. The first step is to group all of the entries in the x array. For the first entry, the key is 1 and the corresponding value will be its indices, which is 0 and 2. The next entry is for 2 and its corresponding indices are 1 and 4. And the last entry is for 3 and its corresponding index is 3. Now that we have collected all of the indices, the next step is to collect the corresponding values from the y collection. For the demo purposes, I'll create a separate collection, but for the actual implementation, we can reuse the same collection that we used earlier. For the first entry, for indices 0 and 2, the corresponding values are 5 and 4. The next indices are 1 and 4, the corresponding values will be 3 and 2. The last entry is index 3, the corresponding value is 6. Last step is to choose the highest value amongst all of these grouped values, sum them up to return the output. In the first entry, 5 is the largest, the next one 3, and the last one is 6. Adding all of them together will give us the total of 14, which will be our output. To pick the highest value amongst all of these individual collections, we can simply sort the entire collection into descending order and pick the first one. With this solution, our time complexity is O of n log n. This is because we are running an iteration through all of the elements in the x collection to build our data set and then identifying each of the combinations or grouped versions and later on applying the sorting algorithm. Combining the two together gives us the time complexity of O of n log n, while the space complexity is O of n, where n is the number of elements in the x collection. This is because we are maintaining this additional collection to record each entry from the x and its corresponding indices or the value from the y collection. In the worst case scenario, the size of this collection will not be greater than the total number of elements in the x collection. This is to cover the case where all of the elements are unique. I hope you are able to understand this explanation. Let me show you how we can implement this using C#. In this C# implementation, I'll start by initializing a variable to record all of the values that we collected from x after grouping based on the value and its corresponding value from y when the indexes are the same. After that, I'm running a for loop to iterate through all of the elements in the x array, group it based on the value and take its corresponding value from the y collection and set it as the value to this dictionary. Once the for loop is complete, all of the entries will be grouped based on the values from the x and the corresponding values from y based on its index. If the entries are less than 3, it means we don't have enough triplets to use, so I'm returning -1 as the output. If there are enough entries in the collection, then I'm ordering the entire collection in the descending order and taking the top 3 elements that will be used as the triplets. After collecting the triplets, I'm summing its corresponding values and returning it as the output. This code, when submitted on LeetCode, beats 44% of the submissions in terms of runtime and 33% in terms of memory. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you are able to understand the explanation. The details to access the source code is available in the description below. Feel free to check that out, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.